canceling visas for foreign students over pro-Palestine protests. This Chinese student, this is Liu Luzhan, she had her visa revoked. So this is making the news. She was a graduate student who had her visa revoked for participating or organizing pro-Palestine protests, being arrested for being an organizer of the protests. This was back in May when she was arrested, but per Trump's new executive order, she has now had her visa revoked. A lot of people are cheering this on, but let's go over this. First of all, here is the White House. This is the executive order Trump signed that now has resulted in this Chinese student having her visa revoked, and she's essentially being sent back to China. I mean, she's not being deported, but it's like she just doesn't, her visa won't be renewed and she's just got to go. Okay. And what lesson, by the way, has she learned from that? Here she is from China, where they don't really have free speech. Here America says, we're all about free speech. We're better. We're a better country than China because we allow freedom. We're here waging wars all around the world because we're trying to protect American values and democracy and all of these things. And this Chinese student comes to America thinking, wow, this is the land of the free. And then they say, except for you, we're sending you back to China. What lesson did this Chinese student learn? She's like, it's all the same. America, China, what's the difference? It's not like we really punished her. I mean, we ended up sending back, somebody that got educated in the United States, and now we sent her back to China with all that knowledge. I mean, win for us, guys, real win. So Donald Trump signed a couple of measures. This one was the additional measures to combat anti-Semitism. This is an executive order from the White House saying that it shall be the policy of the United States to combat anti-Semitism vigorously using all available and appropriate legal tools to prosecute, remove, or otherwise hold to account the perpetrators of unlawful anti-Semitic harassment and violence. Within 60 days of the date of this order, the head of each executive department or agency shall submit a report to the president through the assistant to the president for domestic policy, identifying all civil and criminal authorities or actions within the jurisdiction of that agency beyond those already implemented under Executive Order 13899 that might be used to curb or combat anti-Semitism, and containing an inventory and analysis of all pending administrative complaints as of the date of the report against or involving institutions of higher education alleging civil rights violations relating to or arising from post-October 7th, 2023 campus anti-Semitism. So anything from October 7th on, we want to know, we want all the documentation. You have to present all of this. You have to submit this report to the Attorney General. We want all of these cases of anti-Semitism. Now, what is anti-Semitism? That's the thing. They don't really define that. Right now, it's if you say you're pro-Palestine, if you say free Palestine, if you say from the river to the sea, Palestine will be free. If you say anything like that, or if you're against Israel, then you are now an anti-Semite. I mean, they've just defined this to whatever the hell they want it to be defined to. They then talk about, we're going to be removing such aliens, saying that, look for all the aliens. So that's the foreigners who have broken from these institutions of higher education, and look for these alien students and staff and ensure that they are removed, is essentially what this executive order states. There's another clarification that came out. The White House put out the next day, fact sheet, President Donald J. Trump takes forceful and unprecedented steps to combat anti-Semitism, saying these are all the things that Trump has done. Expanding on Executive Order 13899, President Trump's new order takes forceful and unprecedented steps to marshal all federal resources to combat the explosion of anti-Semitism on our campuses and in our streets since October 7th. Every federal executive department and agency leader will review and report to the White House within 60 days on all criminal and civil authorities and actions available for fighting anti-Semitism. Immediate action will be taken by the Department of Justice to protect law and order, quell pro-Hamas vandalism and intimidation, and investigate and punish anti-Jewish racism in leftist, anti-American colleges and universities. So very specifically going after the colleges and universities and the pro-Palestine protests that have been going on. And they want to go after the universities because that's where most protests and revolutions even start, at the university level. It's the students who make headway and they make change. They're the ones who start. And that's what we saw after October 7th. It was the universities. We saw these pro-Palestine protests break out. And then suddenly we saw people of all ages in the streets, in the cities all around the world, marching on behalf of Palestine. So they're kind of thinking in their mind, if they could crack down on the students, then that domino effect that kind of waves through society just won't happen. That's what they're hoping. Like as if only college students are watching the death and destruction happen in Gaza, which, by the way, Steve Witkoff, Trump's envoy to the Middle East, went to Gaza. And when he went in there, he said, it is way worse. Gaza, he said, I wouldn't have believed it unless I saw it with my own eyes. It is way worse than anything they told us. So the Israelis were lying, like usual, claiming they were only targeting combatants when they were blowing up the whole place, claiming they only killed Hamas terrorists when they were actually killing women and children, claiming they wouldn't dare go and raid and blow up hospitals when they raided and blew up every single one of them. I mean, just lie after lie after lie. And then Steve Witkoff, his envoy, goes in there and says, well, you bastards lied. This place is a total and completely, it's a demolition zone. You guys just demolished the entire place. How anybody couldn't just be totally and completely disgusted with that is beyond me. So the students were right. I mean, they were saying this is a genocide, this is ethnic cleansing. All of the pro-Zionists were saying, that's not true, you're just a liar and an anti-Semite. And now what we find out is actually it was true. Steve Witkoff, who, by the way, is Jewish and went in there on his own and saw it for himself, comes out and says, Israel lied. This is way worse than they ever claimed it was going to be. So they're basically saying we're going to go after all of these pro-Palestine protesters. We're going to remove anybody who's a foreigner from the country because they, which they're not going to really be able to do very easily. There's the First Amendment in this country. I've seen people argue about this all online because they say, well, they're foreigners. They're foreigners. They don't get the First Amendment. The First Amendment applies to persons, not citizens. It's to all persons in the United States. In fact, most of the Constitution applies to anybody standing on U.S. soil. If you're not a citizen, it doesn't matter. You still have constitutional rights. So the First Amendment is protected by the Constitution. There is a possibility that this Chinese student, for example, would be able to sue the United States. And I'm sure there are lawyers trying to help her do that, not because she wants to come back to the United States, but because it would prevent further action along these lines. And it would further protect and enshrine the First Amendment, which has to be done all the time, constantly. Administration after administration wants to attack it just for something different. So good, we need to strengthen it. We need to keep it, we need to constantly fight for it. Otherwise we will lose it. So, and then they also announced today that they've ramped up the Justice Department. They've created a new arm of the Justice Department that is just going to be tackling all of these pro-Hamas, anti-Israel protesters, going after them and prosecuting them. And then once they prosecute them, then they can revoke their visas and get them out of here, because those are the people we should be worried about, not the guys who are actually raping, taking over apartment complexes, murdering people. No, no, no. We got to worry about those waving keffiyeh, wearing keffiyehs and waving Palestine flags. I got to worry about those ones. Those are the ones that are really, truly dangerous, according to the Trump administration. So we just have to be really careful. Our First Amendment rights are under attack. But what's interesting about this is, they sent out these memos. So that 2 in a row from these executive actions last week. And then today with the Department of Justice coming out saying, yeah, we're targeting you anti-Semites. We're going to go after you. What about these radical pro-Israel harassers that are going around threatening students with beepers? Watch this.
You want a beeper?
No.
I have a beeper for you. Someone wants a beeper? I have a beeper for you. You have a beeper? I have a beeper for you, sir. Here. Would you like a beeper? I have a beeper for you. No, why are you running away? I have a beeper for you. Covering your face. Here. Have a beeper for you. Why are you covering your face?
Security.
Have a beeper for you. Here's a beeper. Why you don't have? Here's a beeper for you. Here's a beeper for you. Don't touch me when you actually. Don't touch me, sir.
You're on private property. Get out. I'm asking you to leave the building.
Beeper, sir.
I'm asking you to leave the
Don't put
building.
hands on me. You know you
Okay, so this was from Batar USA. They actually tweeted this out. This was a video from the organization, this pro-Zionist organization. They proudly put this video out there. This wasn't something someone else filmed and then said, look, we caught this Zionist coming and threatening these students with beepers, which we know is a threat of violence, a threat of blowing them up, calling them terrorists. No, they actually filmed this themselves and put this out there, bragging about it themselves. I mean, this is how sick they are. This is how emboldened they are, thinking they can get away with this kind of thing because the Trump administration has their back and is going to go after those kids that are being threatened with beepers and deporting them, when really this guy, who by the way has an accent, so is he from here? He clearly wasn't born in the United States. That's an absolute fact, listening to him. So he wasn't born here. Is he an American citizen? Should he be deported? I mean, if they're going to be calling for the deportation and celebrating the deportation of students who protest against Israel, shouldn't this guy who's actually threatening beepers on our kids, our college kids, and this asshole's going around threatening them with beepers? I mean, this is, and getting away with it. Where is the executive order from the Trump administration that we're going to be going after this person who is threatening terrorism here in the United States? Batar USA tweeted this out saying, we hand out beepers at the new school. One of these students is on our list to deport as it appears to be on a student visa. They call security instead of accepting the beepers. What kind of a sick organization puts this out there? Bragging. So I looked up this organization, Batar USA, us.org, about us. Better, I'm sure I'm not pronouncing it correctly, but Batar is more than a movement. It's a mission founded in 1923 by Zionist visionary Ze'ev Jabotinsky. Batar is a global organization dedicated to empowering Jews to embrace their identity, defend their heritage, and build a thriving future for the Jewish people. As one of the oldest and most impactful Zionist movements in history, Batar has a proud history of action, leadership, and resilience. Rooted in the principles of liberty, Zionism, and unwavering commitment to the land of Israel, Batar inspires its members to stand strong against anti-Semitism and advocate boldly for Zionism. I'm sorry, but this is an organization proudly advocating for a Middle Eastern country, going up to our college kids, our U.S. kids. They said only one was on a student visa that they approached. The rest were Americans, threatening them with beepers. Where is the Trump administration executive action on this? It's disgusting. This organization also went and put a beeper in Norm Finkelstein's pocket. Watch.
Norman, how's it going? I got you a pager. Want a pager, Norman?
Jews were known for being smart. You know what?
Where's your pager, Norman?
You know what?
It's fucking Holocaust tonight, you piece of shit.
Unbelievable. Why is that guy here? Why is this organization allowed to be functioning in the United States? Why? Because we allow free speech in this country. That's why. So you're going to get deported if you support Palestine, but you're not going to be deported if you threaten with pagers and beepers. I mean, this is unbelievable. It's unbelievable what is happening. And the Trump administration, because they were bought off by a bunch of Zionists, they're going along with it and they're protecting them. I mean, this is the one group, the one group we're not allowed to criticize. I mean, it's just the reality of it. So that's who our masters are. We've been totally and completely infiltrated and taken over. Here's another video this woman filmed where she says, I mean, look at this video. She's showcasing, she put this out there of her. She doesn't talk. It's just her, and it's music playing, but it's her watching all of these protests. And she puts this out there again, not ashamed at all, putting herself out there saying, I kept all of these protest videos supporting Hamas. I've done close-ups on their faces. I have detailed biographies on all of them. If you're on a visa in North Carolina and you wish death on any American, I will be turning my files over to the appropriate authorities. And don't think this is all I got. I have Greensboro, I have Asheville, I have Raleigh, I have Durham, I have Greenville, I have all of North Carolina. I am sharing a snippet of my files. I'm an American. I stand for America. So she wants to dox. So she's been going around doxing basically all of these students, all of these people at these protests, saying, I've been collecting data on you. I'm collecting data on you and I'm turning you into the authorities for your speech. And she's saying that these free Palestine protests, the only thing she's showing in these videos are free Palestine protests. None of these videos that she's showing saying, see, this is the snippet I got. This is the snippet of all of you wishing death on Americans. No, wishing for a free Palestine, wishing for the end of a brutal occupation, wishing for the end of oppression. That apparently is wanting the death of some Americans Who? Which Americans? And so she's going to go around and dox these students, and she's going to and she's been collecting all of their information, and I'm sure, you know, harassing them essentially. I mean, putting this video out there, essentially harassing them, and this is okay. I mean, this is I cannot believe what I'm seeing here. These are just pro-Palestine supporters. The other guy threatening beepers was actually threatening death on Americans. Is this woman collecting his information and turning it into the authorities to deport his ass back to wherever he came from? Clearly Israel with his accent. I mean, that's okay. Get him out of here, I guess. I mean, if this is the game we're going to play, I mean, this is the guy with the beepers really, I think, does cross a line. I'm all about free speech, totally and completely. That is harassment, what he was doing, and threatening violence. That's an actual threat of violence. Putting a beeper, putting a pager in Norm Finkelstein's jacket. Who knows what that pager has? I mean, that guy should be investigated. I mean, you got to look at those freaking pagers he's trying to pass out. Do they have explosive devices in them? You might think it's a joke, or maybe he's dead serious. Not, you know, protesters waving a flag saying free Palestine. Those people are not dangerous. They're not threatening violence on anybody. If you want to, in your very soft, snowflakey mind, want to believe that saying free Palestine means death to Jews, you know, you're just a snowflake. Get over it. You're just a snowflake. Time to move on. You know, everybody deserves to be free. Everybody, not just you, everybody. Thanks for watching this clip from the full Kim Iversen Show. If you want to watch the full show, visit KimIversonShow.com. The show airs every Monday through Friday at 5 p.m. Pacific, 8 p.m. Eastern. Again, it's KimIversonShow.com. See you there.